Hey everyone, it's me, the soy pill. Are men under attack? No, I'm not talking about Azerbaijan or Yemen. I'm talking about the real world, America. More and more, men seem to be under fire from the progressive wing of our culture.
Man.
Cancelled.
We hear things that sound crazy and accusatory, like teach men not to rape, or eating meat enforces the patriarchy, the problem with women is men. One of the most infamous examples was the recent Gillette commercial, which told men collectively to be better. And throughout it all, we hear this recurring term.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. Armed and misogynistic. How toxic masculinity fuels mass shootings. Toxic masculinity is like a chronic illness. Toxic masculinity has become a threat to public health. One could easily think that progressives are trying to blame masculinity for all of society's problems. Today, I've invited a professor of sociology from Oxford University into the studio so that he can give his expertise on this cultural phenomenon. Professor, how do you feel about these messages directed at men? You're not alone, Professor. A lot of men do feel fundamentally under attack by this rhetoric. So does the left just hate what makes men men? Let's talk about toxic masculinity. What do you think of when I say masculinity? A lumberjack clearing the forest with his bare hands to make paper towels, searing a steak on a powerful grill while the beta males watch your technique, the dominating voice of a drill sergeant training the next generation of meat shields, the smooth, dense muscles of my wife's boyfriend. Yes, strength and power are parts of masculinity, but there's more to it than that. Some other traits are working hard to provide for your family, leading a team through hardship, being independent and responsible, showing bravery in the face of danger. So, do progressives hate all this stuff when they say down with toxic masculinity? Or is that just a straw man? Well, these people do exist. Some cultural figures are out there saying things like, all masculinity is bad. More men should die from COVID. All men are the problem. Some people will say this is just women airing their frustration at men in general, and they don't really want to kill all men or anything crazy like that. But even so, words mean things. And even if you don't actually mean it, not everyone's gonna get that, and all you've done is make the internet more of a cesspool than it already is. This vitriolic rhetoric doesn't just stop on the internet. It bleeds over into real-life politics. I spent months infiltrating a notable politician's campaign so that I could capture his hidden agenda.
Jesus Christ, Jane, those people are crazy for free stuff. If I threw a penny into the crowd, I'd start a fucking riot. But I've been looking at the economic proposals. How are we going to provide free college and still afford to chemically castrate all men? Let me be clear. Nothing is more important to me than getting rid of masculinity. But if we can't re-educate them at the universities, then we just have to kill them. And I would hate to waste the death camp space that we'll need for those goddamn anime-watching libertarians.
This rhetoric is pretty inflammatory, and for a while I was one of the men that sometimes fell under attack. But after taking the time to analyze what most people are saying, I started to see a fundamental distinction. Ignoring the fringe crazy people, when most progressives criticize toxic masculinity, they're not saying that all masculinity is bad. Rather, they're criticizing the bad parts of masculinity. I discovered this upon studying the term with a group of scientists, who showed me that the word toxic is a modifying adjective that acts upon the noun masculinity. So let's take a look at some examples of what progressives call toxic masculinity, and why criticizing these things isn't an attack on masculinity or men in general.
Now you're a man!
As we said before, part of being masculine is showing bravery or strength, which are good traits to have. But sometimes, while attempting to show bravery and strength, men are told to suppress their emotions. How many times have you heard the phrase, men don't cry?
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you? Is this how you turn out a Hollywood Pinocchio that cries like a woman?
This is where the toxic part of toxic masculinity comes in. In trying to avoid the appearance of being weak, men tough it out, or man up, which can cause them to hide their emotions altogether, bottle up problems because they won't share with anyone, and start to exhibit self-hatred or depression because they don't have an outlet for their feelings.
It's enough to make a grown man cry, but not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
By not talking about how they feel, men can neglect the problems that may cause negative emotions, or shut themselves out from feeling more positive emotions. It also means that men are more likely to find a harmful or unconstructive outlet that helps them forget about their negative emotions.
Maybe you should try working on changing it. Of course I want to change it, but it's the only defense mechanism I have against deeper, more terrifying problems buried inside of me.
Alcoholism is more than twice as common in men than in women, likely because men choose it as a distraction from talking about their problems, while women won't shut the fuck up about their problems. There are some cases where manning up in a tough situation can help, but doing it all the time is bad for development. Airing out your problems and emotions to someone can help them help you, and help you to get to know yourself and your weaknesses better so that you come out stronger. On a similar note,
Now you're a man!
this is the flip side of the masculine trait of independence. Again, it's a good thing to be independent. But sometimes this manifests in men refusing to seek help. And I don't just mean not asking for directions. Men are 33% less likely to go to the doctor than women. And in many countries, men commit suicide 3 times as often. The studies show that this is because men are less likely to seek out help. Or maybe suicide is just one more thing that men are better at than women. They can't drive right, they can't do math, they're bad at committing suicide.
I can't get a cap on! No!
Speaking of controversial topics,
Rape!
men not asking for help is why there are so many unreported female-on-male rapes. Men won't seek help from the police or therapists because they don't want to seem weak. The idea that a man could get raped by a woman is laughable to so many people because society says men are supposed to be strong. It's even played for laughs in a lot of movies. So even though women are the ones doing the raping,
#NotAllWomen.
it's these inflated expectations of men that cause society to neglect the victims, and the victims to hide or isolate out of fear of the stigma, rather than vent and seek help. Getting help shouldn't be seen as weak.
Now you're a man!
The world needs confident leaders, whether it be in the government, left-wing death squads hunting down the last straight male, or a good boss on the assembly line. Sometimes, being a good, confident leader means being assertive or showing force. But unfortunately, that assertiveness sometimes turns into aggression, violence, or just being mean, in an attempt to prove one's control over a situation.
Why you gotta bother me, man? I'm not doing very well at school. I'm reading at a 3rd grade level. I really don't want to get left back, so when I see somebody reading for fun, it makes me feel that much more stupid.
This could be something small, like interrupting people in conversations to seem more knowledgeable or confident. But it can also be more severe things, like bullying in children, violent crime in adults, or bullying in adults. Being masculine means being confident, and sometimes, in order to feel confident, people exert themselves over others. For example, in our society, sleeping with lots of women makes a man look confident or manly. But sometimes, men will be pushy or even rapey towards women just to achieve that status. Even worse, some commit mass shootings because they can't achieve that status. There's nothing wrong with being the biggest, smartest, and strongest hunk in the room, but you don't need to be aggressive or put others down to feel that way. Is your brain recognizing the pattern here? While masculinity itself isn't the problem, and is in fact good in many cases, the path one takes to embody masculine traits can sometimes lead to harmful and even violent or deadly behavior. In the pursuit of masculinity, we sometimes avoid healthy behaviors like opening up, asking for help, and giving space to others. That's the toxic masculinity that progressives want to do away with. Go back and watch that Gillette commercial one more time. When they say that men need to be better, they're not implying that men have always been bad as a collective. They're saying that it's not good to sexually harass women, bully people, interrupt your coworkers, and play it off as inherently masculine. The message was to be good to each other, enforce good behavior in our sons and our friends. Make sure that we buy Gillette razors. You want to purchase and consume Gillette products now. Buying will make you happy. Buying will fill the hole. Reject all other. Invest your hard buy Gillette into Gillette. Purchase Gillette. Without Gillette, you are unhappy. You will never find happiness. You will never be loved by a woman unless you buy Gillette product. Hopefully, I've cleared up the progressive stance on toxic masculinity. But progressives, you're not off the hook. Just because the lovely conservatives watching the video understand your argument a little bit better, the fact that I needed to make this video in the first place is indicative that your messaging is shit. If the phrase used in your ideology immediately elicits horrible defensive reactions from people, even if that movement has the right idea, maybe reconsider the phrasing. I know the phrase all lives matter, but this movement is specifically about the racial dynamics and injustices between police and black people, and that's why I'm saying Black Lives Matter. Doesn't roll off the tongue, and uses up way more ink. But sometimes clarity and nuance is how you win people over. And because I feel like I'll get comments if I don't address this, these positive parts of masculinity aren't exclusive to masculinity. We can push women to be independent and brave, strong or assertive, as they embody positive femininity. Even though in the long history of humanity, these traits aren't always stereotypically feminine, we as a society shouldn't discourage anyone from changing or even breaking these stereotypes. Women can be feminine or masculine, and do things society considers feminine or masculine.
The American people are sick and tired of death squads being 100% male. Under my administration, there will be more female drone pilots, more female CIA torture specialists in Guantanamo, and more all-female death squads.
It's even possible for men to be masculine by stepping outside of traditional gender roles. Being a ballet dancer is a traditionally feminine activity, but a male ballet dancer can exhibit immense strength and self-confidence. It's really that simple. Toxic masculinity may be in the scope of progressive politics, but it affects all of us. When some asshole yells at us at work to feel good about himself, when a friend commits suicide or ODs because he didn't feel like he could talk about his problems, or when our bros won't help us take photos for our OnlyFans because it's too gay. Progressives and conservatives should be on the same side here. If you're upset by the rhetoric used in the mainstream, help share the message of this video to people who would otherwise get mad at the term toxic masculinity. Let masculine men be men. Let feminine men be men. Let masculine women be women. Let masculine women be men. Let people do what makes them happy. But let's help other men from slipping into the pitfalls of masculinity. Toxic masculinity can cause men to hurt themselves or others around them in their attempt to be a macho man. Oh yeah! Don't rape people, brother! Thanks for watching. Please like if you did, and subscribe if you want more. Let me know if there's some crazy left-wing position that you'd like me to explain. Check the description for my wife's phone number, and remember, chill. Take the soy pill.